Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Finneran's Wake. I'm joined by my favorite fitness influencer, my good friend, James Flood. James, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing extraordinarily well. A topic that's been on our mind for the past couple of weeks is nutrient timing. Now, it's one over which you have some mastery and that I'm learning more about as the days and the weeks go on, especially as I've been planning to run a marathon this coming Sunday in Miami. You've helped me immensely um, to learn more about nutrient timing. So I was hoping that you could share some of your insights with a wider audience. So I'm going to open the floor to you. Let's start with the very basics. Okay, so what is nutrient timing? Maybe it's self descriptive, but give us a little bit more information about that. And then we'll go into exactly what nutrients you should be consuming at what times
Yeah,
during the day.
yeah, we'll break it down pretty layman's terms here. So nutrient timing is referring to um, specifically what times of the day you would consume carbohydrates, specific forms of carbohydrates, whether it be fast absorbing carbohydrates or slower absorbing carbohydrates. Fast absorbing meaning higher glycemic, higher sugar content, less fiber versus more of a complex carb, which is a more fiber, a slower digestion that would keep you full throughout the day. Okay. And then
Now,
go
let
ahead.
me interrupt you just briefly for a point of clarification. You mentioned glycemic. Most of
Yeah.
us have maybe heard the term glycemic index.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So basically, it's how it stimulates your insulin levels within your body. So the higher glycemic, the more insulin your body can secrete. So those are the faster carbohydrates. So the higher sugar ones, the higher less fiber carbs. Anything with more fiber is going to be a lower glycemic, which is good if you want to stay fuller for longer. But as the topic we're talking about, there's time for both. So especially with the, you
Right.
know,
So most medical professionals and most commercials you see advising you on how to live your life and eat a good diet will
mm,
say not to eat high glycemic index foods. But when you're training for an event or you're just trying to stay fit and exercise at your optimal level,
mm,
sometimes high GI or high glycemic index foods are not only necessary but vitally important if you're going to perform at your best. Can
yeah.
you talk about that a little bit more? Why would a high GI, a high glycemic index food be necessary?
So for instance, a person who was going to go out for a 10-mile run and, they wanted to have a little extra fuel in the tank so they're not, feeling like garbage halfway through. Obviously, you're going to carb up the night before, right? You've heard the whole carb up the night before, eat a bowl of pasta or whatever. Pasta is excellent um, low glycemic carbohydrate. Okay, it's not a high glycemic. That's why they say do it the night before because it's you're going to still have effects the next day from the pasta. The high glycemic is something you can consume within 20 to 30 minutes prior to the run and get just as much, if not more, benefits because it's readily available into your system, already in your glycogen stores. So specific, just like there's different carbohydrate powders out there. Carbolin is one. My favorite is Bitargo. I have no affiliation with any of these, but uh, it's just very clean. You can take it prior to lifting weights or running or whatever your activity is, and you're not going to have any GI issues. Versus if, like, let's say, if I was going to go run 3 miles and then go to the gym, if I ate like a half an hour before, like a big bowl of oatmeal, I wouldn't. I'd feel a little sluggish, and like you have that. It's a little heavy in your stomach. Plus, I always think about when it comes to nutrient timing is um, how fast they digest in your stomach because what does it take to digest stuff in your stomach? I always think about this blood, and do you want to attract the blood to your digestive system when you're trying to work out and bring blood to the rest of your body? No, no, you don't want to do that. That's why you get people get upset stomachs and different things. So that's part of the yeah of the equation with nutrient timing. There's other, we could talk about different ways, but that's pretty much the carbohydrate version of the nutrient timing is the
Can,
fast and the slow.
can you tell us once again the name of that product, that carbohydrate product that you use prior to
Um,
an aerobic exercise?
yeah, there's several different ones. Like I said, there's Carbolin and there's Vitargo. Vitargo is the one I prefer. They use no artificial sweeteners and stuff like that, and it
Right.
tastes pretty good. So it's like,
So Vitargo. So explain to us the advantage of using a product like Vitargo um, over a more traditional high GI food, a whole product, a
well, yeah,
whole food, like an orange or a clementine.
I mean, I've done both. I do both. I mean, it's just, I just like having that on hand, and I feel like it's just very convenient. Like I can bring it with me, and I like honey too. Like raw honey's excellent. It's just sometimes you just don't want to carry around a jar of raw honey with you, and in between workouts, and you're attracting bugs and stuff. So I just like the way it tastes, to be honest with you. Um, Sometimes I'll do because it's about 30 grams. I think it's 30 grams of carbs per scoop. So sometimes I'll do one scoop prior to the workout, a scoop during, and then a scoop after. So I'm getting like 90 grams of carbs throughout the workout. So I have a sustained. Speaking of nutrient timing, prior to, you want to fill the glycogen levels. So while you're working out, you're flexing the muscles, you have fuel for the muscles versus it would, then you're going to start catabolizing the muscle. And depending on your goals, you don't want to do that. You want to avoid that as much as possible. Post workout, I like to, and I know this is like, it's just preference for me. I've always feel like insulin is the most anabolic hormone in the body for a reason. Okay, there's a reason why bodybuilders abuse it. Uh, I would never touch it. It's very dangerous. But if you can create a nice insulin response in your body post workout, that drives nutrients into the muscle where therefore they would be utilized a lot quicker versus like if you just like I see people all the time, and I don't understand this. Post workout, they'll go to the gym and they go to the smoothie bar at the gym and they get their whey protein and then they get a banana, which is fine. That's perfect. But then they'll put a giant scoop of peanut butter in there. Okay. And what does fat do? Fat takes the longest to digest and break down in your stomach. So therefore, all those nutrients, all this other things you put in there, the protein, it's going to take longer now. Okay. And you're not going to have the insulin spike that you were looking to create post workout because the fat's going to blunt that. Even the protein will blunt that a little bit too. So, um, talking about post workout insulin spike, ideally, I do the Vitargo or a banana or some kind of honey and fruit immediately post workout with the creatine. I would take my creatine post workout about 5 grams. Taurine is essential too. Taurine is amazing amino acid. Everybody needs that. Read about it. Okay. Not only does it help shuttle other nutrients into the muscle and volumize the muscles, it actually works as electrolyte balancer. Okay. So taurine will help uh, hydrate you essentially. So especially you, like what you got going on right now, I would look into supplement with some good high quality taurine prior to the race. You're going to feel a lot better. You're going to perform a lot better. Um, so post workout, like I said, high glycemic carbs, pre workout, high glycemic carbs, post workout, within 20 minutes after consuming your high glycemic carbs, you can have your protein. Okay, I wouldn't do any fat immediately after. I wait like an hour to consume like a whole food meal after my workout, which is it's perfect because then you can have your nutrients. You don't have to worry about the insulin spike thing because you've already done that with your high glycemic carbs. So and then
goodness, masterful response. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to comment on a few things. One, you said honey. You mentioned honey, and that is the carbohydrate of choice in my diet. I have jars in many places, including at my office at work. Certainly, multiple bottles in my cabinets here at home. I also use a sort of a, what would they call it? A gel pack
Oh
produced by
yeah.
a company called Honey Stinger, with which I'm unaffiliated. It's an excellent product. I think it's basically honey with some
Maltodextrin.
fortification, yeah, with a couple of additives and some B vitamins. A lot of runners will make use of it, and Honey Stinger also has different products for pre and post workout.
Hmm.
Mainly fast digesting carbohydrates. So that's another product into which you can look, one that's used by me and to which I can personally attest. Uh, then you mentioned insulin. The insulin response I find fascinating. Now, what you want is an endogenous, natural
Yeah.
increase in insulin, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the world of bodybuilding, it's often used exogenously, right? They're injecting insulin, and you're right, that can be a dangerous practice,
Very, very dangerous. Yeah.
right, over the long term. Maybe we'll save that topic for another episode, which is
Mm.
the anabolic effect of insulin, because it's a
Yeah.
fascinating one into which we can dive.
Yeah.
So that was again a masterful explanation of carbohydrate timing specifically, just to break it down
Mm.
and to recapitulate what you said. You want a high GI, fast digesting carbohydrate in advance of your, let's say, run, right? You're going to run 5 to
Yeah.
10 miles. Um, that will fuel you for that bout of exercise. And then after the exercise, you don't want to reach immediately for protein, which I think most people misguidedly
Yeah.
do. They think that immediately after a weight training session or immediately following a run, protein is necessary to synthesize
No.
muscular growth, um, or to stimulate muscle growth to get that hypertrophic effect. But in reality, you need carbohydrates, right?
Carbohydrates,
Hmm.
creatine, and
Right,
leucine. L-leucine is one of the three BCAAs, but
right.
L-leucine is the most important.
So the ideal cocktail post workout would not just be a protein drink, a whey protein drink, and we're sort of on the fence about whey protein as is. So
Yeah.
preferably you would eat a whole protein source if possible. Uh, but regardless, what you want preferably is or are a banana, something that's a fast digesting carbohydrate. That's a natural source of carbohydrate. If you can't have that, then maybe that powder that you mentioned,
Eight.
creatine, and the taurine, and the what was the other one?
Um, that leucine,
Leucine. Leucine, the most,
L-leucine, very
right, the one
important.
of the most important of the amino acids for
Yes,
muscle growth. Um, so you don't necessarily need a protein smoothie. You don't
not
necessarily need
immediately.
a steak. Like
Not
those
immediately.
those two or three things, carbohydrate, creatine, and those amino acids, really are essential.
The best. Yeah, it's just uh, that's going to prime you for recovery. Yeah, the protein's important, but you don't need it immediately after because we want to harness the power of insulin. And then also, like, depending on your goals, you can, because some people worry, oh, if I spike my insulin, am I going to, when you raise your insulin, there's also talk of first thing in the morning. This is why I intermittent fast most days because when you eat something, this is going off into really deep, but I'll just share real quick. It's, you produce growth hormone at night, right? Growth hormone is your body's natural healing and anti-aging. Oh, it's one of the best things you can do. Obviously, as we age, it declines, but as soon as we break our fast, eat something in the morning, what happens? Growth hormone completely shut off. Okay, you're done pulsing for the night. So what happens then is your insulin is now raised. Okay, so growth hormone and insulin at the same time, not going to exist at the same time unless you're a bodybuilder and you're injecting insulin. That's why they do it. So they can eat the massive amount of foods, still have the growth hormone, still have the insulin. But normal human being trying to be healthy, trying to perform at their best, and you want to be leaner, you want to avoid the insulin spike first thing in the morning. Okay. Versus, or if you're somebody like trying to perform at a marathon or whatever, then it's you different goals, different situations. So then I would say, hey, consume that high glycemic carb. If you're running first thing in the morning, definitely don't run fasted. If
Mhm.
that's your goal, if you're trying to not lose muscle mass. But like I said, it changes based on your goals and what part of the training program you're at.
Yeah, it's somewhat counterintuitive for people who want to lose weight. They wake up early, they eat nothing, and they'll go out for a run, thinking that in that fasted state they'll do their aerobic exercise and will increase the fat loss by an even greater magnitude. But what you're
Well,
saying is, in all likelihood, it's somewhat detrimental. Really, what you want to do is fuel the muscles, right, to increase the metabolism, to enable you to have enough fuel to get through that session to the best of your ability, which will then continue, stimulating the metabolic activity thereafter.
yeah. So no. If I was somebody trying to lose weight and trying to get leaner, 1,000% fasted cardio. Okay, because
Mm,
fasted is there's nothing in your stomach and there's nothing in there for your body to burn. So therefore, it's going to call it burn fat. You're going to burn fat. You're going to burn a little bit of muscle because your body's not going to decipher. It's going to burn amino acids too. Um, so yeah, definitely fasted if you're trying to lose weight. That's why I'm saying like it's different if depending on what you are training for. If you're training for just to lose weight, don't consume any carbohydrates prior to your morning cardio, and
mhm,
try to prolong that. Is because like I said, if you keep your growth hormone high without eating carbohydrates in the morning, you're burning fat. As soon as you turn off your growth hormone, you're not burning fat anymore. So
mhm,
that's why I like to train like around like ideally my favorite time to train is 11 o'clock in the morning because I break my fast usually around like 12:30. So then I can just immediately just chow down and have my nice big lunch. And but most of the time I run. So this is my ideal thing, and this is just what I've been doing. Is I'll do my run. I usually run fasted, no carbohydrates because I like to keep my insulin low until my workout. So then I'll run fasted. I do 3 miles usually with my dogs or something. Then I will consume the Vitargo right around 11:30, 11:45 prior to my workout. So I've done the fasted workout. I have a little bit of fast acting carbs. So then I have that extra push in the gym to where I'm not just burning muscle and catabolizing muscle. Um, that's been working pretty well for me. I have worked out fasted before too. I like that too, but it's a little bit more catabolic. It's hard to keep on some as much muscle when you do it that way. So it's just you got to listen to your body too, man. You'll feel sluggish if you know you're feeling sluggish. You need to bump up your carbs, and it's just knowing your body and going with it. And
mhm.
that like we were talking about protein sort. So another thing with nutrient timing is like we said, don't consume fats immediately post workout because the fats will slow the carbohydrate absorption. So then uh, you don't want that to happen. You want the protein and the carbs to be readily absorbed into your system. Um,
Yeah.
and at night, people used to say consume casein protein because it's a super slow digesting protein. Uh, I don't really like any kind of protein powders. We've already talked about that. So
Mhm.
like raw milk and Greek yogurt with some blueberries is my like to go to like
Yeah,
before
yeah.
bed.
Or
Like
cottage cheese. And you don't
cottage
have
cheese, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to overindulge on these things, right? Because they are highly caloric.
Yeah.
So just a couple spoonfuls or a small cupful of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt should be adequate for your protein needs overnight while you're sleeping and recovering, and that growth hormone is being stimulated all the while.
Oh yeah. It's so yeah, usually like my last meal is like around 8 o'clock. So then like I'll eat my dinner because I usually do two big meals. And then upon finishing my dinner, I'll have my dessert, which is like I said, the Greek yogurt. I have like a I don't have a giant size portion of it, but it's a pretty decent size. But I like to put frozen blueberries on it because it makes me feel like I'm having some kind of dessert, you know. And
Hmm.
then I'll wash that down with a glass of raw milk. It's raw milk's just so amazing for you. I mean,
As do I, as do I.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I basically I do the same thing with a little bit of honey on top
yeah.
of the
You,
blueberries, and it's absolutely delicious. And yeah, we buy our raw milk from the same source. It's the Alde's Farm, I believe, is the name of it. I'm always uncertain about the pronunciation, but it's purchasable at the CU
Amish.
table and the Oaks Farms. Yeah, 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 the Amish farms. Excellent advice. So we kind of briefly covered proteins. We spent the majority of our time talking about carbohydrates, which I think is essential because carbohydrates are, I think, wrongly maligned. Of course, people have different dietary approaches. If you're in a ketogenic diet, you're going to be consuming extraordinarily low amounts of carbohydrates, and you know your body metabolically will make adjustments to enable you to perform at a high level. Perhaps not as high a level as you might if you were consuming carbohydrates. People who are on the ketogenic will testify that they perform even better once kind of fat adapted. I don't know. I can't speak anecdotally to this. I've never tried to be um, a ketogenic athlete, right? Like doing
Yeah,
actual long distance runs or really heavy lift sessions on that style of eating. So I can't speak to that. But I think importantly, we covered the different types of carbohydrates, high and low glycemic index carbohydrates, the hour at which or the minute at which you should take them, and for how long they will give you energy. Right? So,
yeah,
like the higher GI carbohydrate will give you energy about 30 minutes prior to your session. And that's a good thing to take both prior to, during, and sometimes after the session, along with creatine and some of those other amino acids before going to your big meal. Now, of course, if you're training for a long endurance event, let's say, you're going to want to consume carbohydrates in a different way, different from how you might consume them if you're just waking up doing moderate cardio for fat loss and general well being, right? So I think we
yeah,
explained that difference pretty clearly. And then we talked a little bit about protein, the type of protein you should take overnight, casein, the general type of protein that's found in dairy products, whey, our preference for whole protein sources, about which we talk in a prior episode. So I think that covers most of what we wanted to discuss today, which
yeah. I
is
mean,
timing. Is there
there's
anything that you'd like to add?
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, I'm not knocking carnivore or ketogenic diets. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't done the carnivore. I haven't done, I've done keto before, but it was a very long time ago, and I didn't feel good at all. Like mentally, just like brain fog. And I was thinking, and this is just a little off topic, but I was going to do an experiment just with blood work too, and test my blood work prior to um, ketogenic carnivore diet,
Mhm.
and uh, then afterwards, and then also take like pictures and see how my body changed. I always like blood work, yes, is key. Obviously, you want to see how your body is on the inside because you can look a certain way and still be crap on the inside. So, what I was thinking of doing is doing, and like these are my favorite protein sources: is salmon, steak, eggs. Okay, and I was going to see what I maybe after like 2 weeks of or 3 weeks, maybe just to give it a little bit more time. how I looked and how my blood work changed of just eating salmon steak and eggs, right? It was just basic, right? And like I'm a huge carb guy. I love fruit. It's gonna be hard for me. I guess with the carnivore you can't eat fruit. So maybe I'll do a little fruit in there too, dabble. But I want to see how my body changed, how I feel versus just doing a ketogenic diet because that never really worked for me just in the past. But
Yeah, that's an experiment whose results I'd be interested in
yeah.
seeing. So, we'll be sure to follow up on that if indeed you do want to implement that program and share with us the results, images before and after, and also the blood work. I'd be
Yeah.
fascinated to know that. James, I think with that we should end this
Yeah,
episode dealing with nutrient timing. So I
definitely.
hope it was helpful to everyone watching out there. And please, if you have any topics about which you'd like to hear us talk, send us an email or leave a note in the comments section. We'll gladly pick up on it and invite James back onto the program so he can dispense his wisdom. So, James, thank you very much for joining
Thanks,
me
Dan.
today on this episode. As always, I've learned an immense amount that I plan to implement as soon as this marathon is over in a
Yeah.
couple of days. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.